Is Iannielli, and I'm a male to female transgender girl. And I'm gonna talk on my video tonight about what it's like to be transgender and to raise a child. I have a son, he's 16, and he's autistic. He's on the spectrum. He's actually considered high-functioning Asperger's. Actually, I have a long road trip ahead of me today. I'm going to be meeting with his teacher at the school and also a family counselor. It's about a 6-hour drive upstate at Hillside, and I'm looking forward to the trip actually. The only thing is it's a long drive. I'm going to be exhausted. We're going to have to make stops along the way. But I can't wait to get to see my son, and he'll be coming home with me as he'll be off for the Martin Luther King holiday, so he'll get a week off. So I'm all excited. I enjoy when he's home and we get to spend time together. When I first started transitioning, I was concerned how it was going to affect my son and my family, and I was very concerned and wasn't sure how to quite explain it, especially to a young boy. You know, he's very impressionable, and he only knew me as Ed, and we had a loving relationship, a loving bond as father and son normally. I have a blog that I write about that focuses on his autism and my transgender struggles and family life experiences. And I started writing because I wanted to try to express my inner thoughts and feelings and emotions surrounding my son's situation. And as I started to write, I started to reflect and express what it's like to raise a child who you love very much, and the pain that you encounter in seeing them struggle, similar to the pain that I felt when I was growing up as a transgender girl. I didn't really know how to express myself to other people, especially my family, and I was quite lonely and isolated, and I can see that also with my son being autistic. He's very inward and very alone quite a bit. And when he was going to school here in the Levittown School District, he was having quite a lot of challenges and difficulties, specifically with regard to his behavior. Maddie's a very bright kid, and he's very intelligent. He's a very good kid, but he has very hard time sitting and just focusing. And most autistic children do encounter such difficulties. It's not an easy thing when you have those challenges. I know personally from my own challenges as a transgender individual, the feelings of loneliness, isolation, pain, struggle, feeling different. So I definitely can relate to my son in many ways, even though our struggles are quite different. There are many similarities. But as a parent, especially a transparent. Actually, that's a movie coming out about transgender individuals. I want to see that. But as a parent who happens to be transgender like myself, in my case male to female, and I'm a father to my son no matter what, even though I transitioned to become a woman. And I clearly state to my son that I want him to address me as his father, and that's how he should. I don't want him to be conflicted or confused. And we have a good relationship. I'm very blessed. I think very highly of my son, and I'm very happy as a father. I'm also happy in transitioning to become a woman also. This is a long journey for me. I've always knew in my heart that I was meant to be a woman, so I'm only doing what feels right for me. But with that said, I still realize that I'm a father and I have to be there for my son. And even if I don't wear men's clothes, it really doesn't matter. My son accepts me and I accept him, and we have a tremendous bond. He's at the awkward stage now. He's 16, so I'm trying to be sensitive to his needs, and I want him to open up and express himself, because I know when I was that age I was very sad and I felt all alone, and I couldn't open up to anyone, even my family. And I knew back then that I was struggling with my gender issues. I would always dress up as a girl, and I always felt like I was a girl. And I knew that in my heart. I always wanted to be a girl. So, I've always felt that way. In my son's case, he's a real typical boy. He's not at all affected by my transgender, and I do tell him that if he does feel hurt or upset, I want him to tell me. I don't want him to keep it inside. I don't think it's healthy. That's why family therapy sessions are important, and I want my son to just know that it's okay to be different. There's really nothing wrong with that. There are so many people who have their own struggles and issues, and there's nothing wrong. For the longest time I always felt very guilty about my feelings and my gender struggles, and I just couldn't grasp how to integrate it into my life in a healthy way. I quite honestly repressed my feelings and tried to rid myself of those feelings, and it really wasn't the right thing to do. I always felt in my heart that I was meant to be a female, and I was very upset for most of my teenage years growing up. So that's why I'm very concerned for my son and how things affect him, especially with my transitioning. I want him to be okay with it, and I want him to be honest with me. I'm very concerned about his own welfare, and I just want him to be a happy kid and to be able to express himself and share his thoughts and feelings and emotions. I don't want him to close up like I did. I want him to be comfortable with expressing himself and sharing how he feels on these important matters. I was a very reclusive and shy kid growing up, and I didn't really have too many friends. And I can see my son in a similar situation. That's why we felt that it was very important for him to go to a special school. And when we went to the school district for the IEP meetings and to discuss his future educational plans, we were at a crossroads because the teachers were trying to find the right program for him with regard to his education. And we had seen Maddie bounce around from many of the schools within the Levittown School District. And we knew that it wasn't going to work out, and we weren't sure what the next step would be. And then we just came to realize, if the school district isn't able to find an appropriate setting for him within the district, then we have to go out of district to find the right school. And we had to go through a whole process with applying to several schools that were geared for special needs children, and specifically with regard to autistic children. And we only found one school that accepted Maddie, and it just happened to be a 6-hour distance away. And we were very confused as to what to do. We had a parent trainer that would come to our house when Maddie was attending in the Levittown School District. But we would discuss what was the right planning for our son. And it really came down to us having to let go and have Maddie attend this school, even though it was very far away. And we felt that it would probably be the best thing for him, because it would help him integrate with other children, and he would be living on campus, so it would hopefully help him develop friendships, because when he was home, he was very isolated. So being on a school campus, I should say, he was now given an opportunity where he could meet kids his age and go to classes, and the teachers would be able to give him the right attention that he deserves. And he's been there now for a year, and we are seeing progress being made. So we're very fortunate. And I think that he's right now at a good point, good stage in his development at the school, and I think he's learning to accept his situation, as are we. It wasn't easy in the beginning, the separation, but we also have to realize he's getting older, and time is crucial now. He's entitled under New York State law to get an education up until the age of 21. And, we don't know what the future plans will be, but we obviously would like him to go on in college and study what he hopes to. When I went to college, I was very shy and awkward, and I just focused on my studies. I also had my gender struggles, and I was cross-dressing quite a bit when I could, and it was hard because I had roommates, so the only times I really could was when they left to go home, And since I live quite far, sometimes I just stayed at the apartment um, rather than going home. And that was the best time for me to cross-dress because I had my own privacy. Um, in Maddie's case, we encouraged, and the school encourages him to come home uh, when he's has time off from school. And I think if you are transgender and you marry and you have a family, transitioning is much more challenging and very difficult. And you obviously don't want to hurt your children. You know, you don't want them to be psychologically affected by your transitioning. You don't want them to feel embarrassed. Typically, it's quite understandable if a child has apprehension in bringing friends home if they have a transgender parent. And that's one of my worries and concerns for my son. I don't want him to feel embarrassed. I don't want him to feel awkward about the situation. You know, I just want things to work out. And, you know, I think people should be more accepting. You know, I've struggled with my gender since I was just a little kid. And there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just normal like anybody else. It's just that I identify differently. You know I was born a male. I know I was a boy growing up. But that's not how I felt in my heart. And I always wanted to dress in girls' clothes when I was a kid. I felt much happier. It was a very special time when I could do that. And I just felt natural. It just felt right for me. I don't have a real reason or understanding of why I felt these feelings, but I know in my heart that they were very real, and no matter how hard I tried to escape those feelings, it wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. I tried to repress my feelings. You know, I kept this whole thing a secret. I never told my family, never told my parents. I had to deal with this all by myself, basically. And it was hard. You know, I felt very guilty. I questioned God why I was like this. I tried to run away from it. There were times when I just wanted to die. I felt like, what's the whole point? It didn't make sense to me. And dressing up was very rewarding and helpful for me. It made me feel happy inside, and I felt more in touch with my true self. And you know, when I go out with my son and we go to the movies or to the mall, I'm dressed like a woman, and I pass pretty good now. I've been on female hormones now for over 2 years, and definitely I do see changes, and I feel much happier, to be honest with you. And I'm much happier as a woman. I'm feminine enough to pass. I have the feminine mannerisms, which I always have had. It's nothing new. It's not like pretend. This is just who I am. You know, I'm just being myself. You know, it's no stretch for me. In In fact, it's quite easy because that's how I've always been. Um, and I just feel a real true connection to my female soul. I am more happier when I can express my feminine side and be true to that girl that I've always known I was. But, raising a boy and having him see his father becoming a female isn't normal, and I'll be the first to admit that. But for me, what does normal mean? I don't have a definition for normal, because quite honestly, I don't know what normal means. I know for me, normal means that I live as a female. That's what normal means. I was born male, but that's not my sense of normalcy. I'm definitely female, and that's how I relate. So for me, the definition of normal doesn't quite fit what the general consensus is. When I do go out with my son, I try to ease him into my transition. At first, I didn't wear dresses or overly feminine clothing. I tried to be androgynous in a way, where you couldn't distinguish whether I was dressing as a male or a female. But I wasn't satisfied with the kind of clothing. I truly wanted to wear more feminine clothing, and over time, as I felt out my son and saw that he was okay, and I spoke to him about it, and the school counselor spoke to him, I started to feel more comfortable. And the main thing is not my comfortableness, it's my son's. I want him to know that I would do anything for him, and I don't want him to feel awkward. I don't want him to feel embarrassed. I just want him to understand that there's nothing wrong with mice being different, and he should accept people for who they are, and we should never pass judgment on others. There's no right or wrong in this case. It's just a matter of self-awareness, self-expression, and it teaches him a valuable lesson about life and accepting people who may be different, and there's nothing wrong with it. And my son also, knowing his situation, being autistic, is very empathetic, and he's got a warm heart, and he's got a lot of love in his heart, and I think he's doing marvelous, and I'm very proud of him. I look up to my son in many ways, and I'm very proud to say that he's my son. And I just want the best for him, just like any parent, whether they're transgender or not. It really doesn't make a difference. I'm still his father. I'll always be his father. And it doesn't matter if I'm dressing as a female and living as a female. He knows who I am, and he knows I love him, and I'll always be there for him. So I think that's the main issue, is that he feels comfortable and is able to handle it, and over time it will get much easier for him and for me, and I just want things to be as normal as they possibly can. You know, we're a family, you know, a little bit unconventional, but nonetheless, we're still a loving and caring family, and our son is the primary focus, as he should be, and I'm very sensitive to his needs, and I just want him to be a happy child and grow. I mean, he's a young man now, he's 16. He's only a couple of years away from the age of consent. So I am sad in a way that he's grown so fast. It seems like the time just went by, and I can't believe it. But I'm very proud of my son, and as any parent would say, they just want to see the child do well and hopefully be able to live a good life and experience nice, wonderful joys and find true happiness. You know, life isn't perfect. There's sadness and happiness, but you know, we hope that there are more joys than sad things happening. I also want my son to realize that we both, my wife and I, love Maddie, and we'll always be there for him, even if we go our separate ways, my wife and I. I don't know what the future holds. I'm planning to have surgery to become a woman, gender reassignment surgery. That's quite, you know, not the easiest thing to have to deal with, but I've been struggling for most of my life as a transgender girl, and I knew in my heart that I wanted to be female and live the life of a woman, and you know, I can't help the way I feel. I've been like this since all my childhood. It's very difficult. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. It's not something that many people understand, and you know, I've fought my feelings long time. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm actually going to be 54 on Sunday, January 18th. So my struggle is very real, and you know, I'm not a very strong person. I'm very sensitive and very emotional, and you know, I've also had times when I thought I might not make it. I really was considering suicide, but you know, if I have a son who needs me, and I can't think like that. No matter how depressed I get, no matter how much I struggle, you know, depression is not easy. It's very difficult, and